Welcome, everyone, to the Four Stars Podcast Fall 2024 media availability here today. First off, just wanted to say thank you for being here. It's a real pleasure. Lauren, if you want to introduce yourself and then go from there, that'd be awesome.
Hello, coaches. My name is Lauren. I'm just going to be mediating those meetings, these Zooms for us today. Thank you all for being here. And we're just going to start with each of your opening statements. So just introduce yourself and what you're excited for, looking forward to this fall, the season. Thank you for being here for the media and the coaches. So we can start with Cornell.
Nothing like getting thrown in there first. Should I take 5 or 6 minutes or quicker? How long?
Whatever you want.
No, I'll be nice. Todd Kennett, I'm the Spirit of 57 Director of Rowing here at Cornell. Been here a couple days, and I'm pretty excited, having a fun year. A younger group that's sort of coming to age a little bit. We're getting the guys into a pretty good work pattern. We're really excited. Actually, just came off the water from 4 boats across out on the lake, having a good time and seeing guys doing some stuff. And as we do, you just gotta love as your crew starts to grow into some spaces, trying to fill some spots that I think we've had empty for a couple of years. So we'll see if they are able to succeed, but we're having a good time doing it. So there you go.
Thank you, Coach. We'll move over to Colgate now.
I'm Eric Summers. I'm the assistant coach here at Colgate University. Coach Sanad sends his regrets he couldn't make it here today, but yeah, we've been on the water for about a month up here, enjoying some really nice fall weather for a change. It's been very pleasant. We have a very young group of guys right now, a lot of freshmen. We spent a couple of weeks kind of getting them up to speed. Now we're mixing lineups with the varsity and sorting out for our fall racing schedule. We have some optimism, see how it goes. It'll be an interesting year with a very young squad. So, we'll put in some good effort this fall, and we'll make some adjustments over the winter and see where we are in the spring.
Thank you, Coach. Now we'll hear from Boston.
Yeah, hi everyone. Tom Bohrer, head coach here at BU. Yeah, my comments are kind of similar to all the other coaches. It is the start of the season, so it's always a new year, and we have 14 freshmen joining us this year. So and graduating a big senior class last year. So I feel like we're a new team this year in many ways. Figuring out our identity and who we are, and but it's I feel like in the beginning of the season it is a lot of fun because week to week you see people making changes and boats start getting faster, and it just we're optimistic about the year, and in the fall for us too is our train cycle. We're getting into a pretty good train cycle. We're rowing small boats first part of the week, and then getting into the 8 for like Thursday, Friday, and Saturday doing pieces. So, but yeah, it's good. It's week to week, and our mindset is not so much where we are this fall, but certainly where we are, come spring, and certainly by the IRA.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now hear from Dartmouth.
Hi, everyone. Wyatt Allen, head coach of heavyweight rowing at Dartmouth. Going into my 11th year here, very similar to what the coaches ahead of me have said. Feel like we got sort of a new group in the boathouse, good senior leadership, nice getting Billy Bender back from the Olympics and adding not only his boat moving ability, but his leadership to the group. Really good group of freshmen coming in. We're 3 weeks into the fall. It's been competitive. We're excited. We're getting ready to host BU this coming weekend for a scrimmage. And obviously, like most of the other programs, looking forward to the Charles. I think it's going to be an exciting year. When I kind of look across the league, I don't see many rosters that seem like they're not going to get better this year, right? It was competitive last year, and a lot of programs kind of continuing to take steps forward, and we want to be among those programs, and I think we have an opportunity. So we're excited to get things going.
Thank you, Coach. Also, Drexel, we are just going through our opening statement. So we're just introducing yourself as a coach, what you're looking forward for this fall, anything like that.
Cool. Thanks, Lauren. Well, Matt Weaver here, head coach of Drexel Rowing. Yeah, definitely a young team here at Drexel this year. Graduated a pretty big class with a bunch of COVID guys, 5th-year seniors. So kind of, a little bit of a youth movement here. Got like 14, 15 freshmen and transfers in. So, a little bit of a cultural reset. Great culture kind of from Coach Savell, the previous men's head coach here. But yeah, just excited to continue on that legacy and yeah, transform the culture a little bit and kind of let these guys make the culture what they want to make it, and happy to kind of be a guide of that process. And yeah, for the fall racing, just excited to get back to competition, race all those other teams out here, and yeah, just looking forward to the year.
Thank you, Coach. We can move over to St. Joe's now.
Good morning. I'm Mike Irwin. I'm the head coach of men's rowing here at St. Joseph's. It's my 14th season here. It's the 71st edition of the men's rowing program here in Philadelphia. And as Matt is full aware that things in Philadelphia with the big five out on the river all at the same time every morning, it's it's a pretty exciting time here in Philly, especially with all our scullers and club people, and it's a pretty neat time to be, kind of in the sport and certainly on this river. We are just under 40 athletes strong with our roster this year, 10 freshmen in the class of 2028. So we're really excited to see how they start to, assimilate into the group and pick up the culture and develop. And we're getting ready in about, I guess, a week and a half here to host the Navy Day Regatta, which is on Sunday, October 13th. So it's our way to kick off the fall racing season, get that early look at what we've been up to in the last few weeks, and prepare to take a boat up to Boston for Head of the Charles the next week.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now hear from Stetson University.
Hi, my name is Jamie Francis. I'm the director of rowing here at Stetson. Myself and my staff, this is our 4th year kicking off. We graduated 3 seniors off the team, and we ended up bringing in a total of 11 guys this fall, 1 transfer and the balance freshman. So we have operated as a small program and continue to do so, but we should be a little over 2/8 this year. It's been exciting with all the new freshmen. We've spent almost no time in the 8 so far. We've been a lot of small boats, singles and doubles. We will take a forward to Head of the Charles this year, and then we'll do some local racing after that later in the fall. New guys coming in, starting to get them assimilated and getting everybody matching up together and getting an idea of where everybody stands, not just on the erg, but where they are in singles and doubles as well.
Thank you, coaches, for your opening statements. We'll pass this along to media so they can open up for questions. Media, I would like you just to introduce yourself before you ask a question at the very beginning. And if you do have questions, you can just raise your hand on the Zoom.
Hi, Lauren. I hope you don't mind if I just jump in. I think Zoom's updated, so I don't know how to put my hand up.
No worries.
But Fergus Mainland from JRN and the End of the Island podcast based out in London, England. Very excited that we're making the trip over to Head of the Charles for the first time this year. So I think my question to all the coaches who are making the trip to Boston this year, how important is the Head of the Charles in your fall programs? And what sort of weighting do you put on it as an event or more as a training tool for your athletes? I'm very keen to hear from all of you.
Well, we don't have to travel for it, so it's a good thing for us. And I'm just no, it's I mean, we really like it because it's on our home course, and just over the week leading up to the Charles, just all the crews coming in, and it's certainly an exciting time. It's a big alumni event for us and people coming back, so there's a whole other non-racing component to the weekend for a program like us. Yeah, I mean, we certainly, I think every crew wants to do well, but I've kind of in the mindset too, as long as I see my team making progress week to week, I feel pretty good about what we're doing. But it is an opportunity to showcase the program, and like everybody's looking at results, so it's seeing how people rank and how they do, but you never really know how each team did, because a little wider turn or having to stop in the course can have so many effects on it. But it's I don't know, I think it's just a great event that I think any athlete of all the teams probably really enjoys coming up for.
Yeah, I'll chime in that I have said for years that Head of the Charles results don't really matter that much, and then we ended up winning last year, and it was kind of tested me that, can I actually say that anymore? And after IRAs, it's true, I can say that still, that a lot happens between Boston and New Jersey, and so those results don't always carry through. We're excited to race again and hopefully repeat, but at the end of the day, we're trying to stay focused on what happens in June.
I guess I'll go quick. For us, it's a major training plan. We love it. We love going to it, but it's a pretty tough one because we travel there on Saturday, so we don't get a walk over the course. So I think it's pretty tough on my coxswains, but the guys really look up for it. So we're going to bring a couple fours, and then I have an enormous alumni base that races at it. I think we're boating 12 alumni boats off our trailer. So for us, it's more of a gathering and activity, I guess you'd put it, and again, training. And obviously there's a huge number of people there just having a good time, and it's more the community and spirit of the event, I think. And we look forward to the true test when we get to the spring in terms of actual speeds, but it's still a lot of fun.
I'll go. I mean, our athletes love going to Boston. It's a fun trip for them. We have a lot of alumni over in the area as well, but it also allows us to do some recruiting. We get to see some athletes coming in from the West Coast that we normally wouldn't see, and it's it really is a good way to showcase programs, I think, as everyone would agree. But it's also busy recruiting weekend for us too. So
yeah, I think same thing all the other coaches saying. It's a great celebration. I think a good celebration of rowing too, and also really good competition. You get to see all the other universities around the U.S., sometimes outside the U.S., and national teams as well. So it's a pretty rare opportunity to kind of, put a time down the course of some other crews like that. But yeah, just a great celebration of rowing and really good competition.
Yeah, and I agree with everything that's been said. I think, it's an incredible event and fun to be a part of. It's the only time other than the IRA that we really get to see almost the complete field in West Coast schools. And so anytime we're able to line up and race against that caliber of a field, it's important to us. At the same time, you do keep in mind that it's pretty early in the year for most of us, and the course is what it is. It's a challenge in itself, and so you go out and you prepare as best you can, and race hard, and have fun with it.
Matt Weaver, I saw that you guys had Justin Best on the dock today. That's pretty awesome. What was that like having to come back from the Olympics?
Yeah, you're quick with it, Hudson. I didn't even get a chance to go on social media after practice, so I'm glad they got that up. But yeah, no, it was awesome. We brought the men's team and women's team together there before practice. He had a chance to, address the team, ride along in the launch, and just good for him to meet the team. I think at this point he hadn't rowed with anyone on the team, so kind of a new era of rowing for him and a chance for him to make that connection. I think, yeah, the team was obviously really motivated by it, and yeah, just a really good role model for where you can go in rowing. So yeah, I'm excited he was here and got a chance to check things out and reconnect with the team a little bit.
And then I guess I'll ask another question too. I mean, while I'm at it, question for Wyatt Allen. You had several athletes from your squad row at the U23 World Championships. Granted, a bunch of you other coaches have also had athletes as well, but just was wondering about obviously the U.S. team. You had Julian Thomas, you had Miles Hudgens and Sammy Hudegi, part of those U.S. boats. Obviously, Miles won the U23 men's four. What was that like after after he won that, the U.S. actually winning the 23 men's four? That was a pretty great race, and obviously the men's eight came in second. But just was wondering about the conversation that you had with him after he won.
Yeah, I mean, obviously awesome for Miles, and I don't know if everyone knows this, but Miles has been battling back issues for the last 2 years, and just got back to rowing full time last spring, kind of middle of the spring of our racing season. And so to see him continue the progress through the spring and stay healthy, and then be able to go to selection camp and make a boat, and then go to Worlds and win a medal is just awesome. I mean, I couldn't be more happy for him, and he's worked his butt off to get back to full health and to be able to do that. So from my perspective, I was just so happy for him. And I know his teammates feel the same way. I think with all those guys, great experience. I mean, to have Sammy and Julian win a silver medal in the 8 and have Miles win the Cox 4 is great. And we're proud of the way they represented the program and represented their country. It's interesting. The longer I do this, the more important I have come to believe rest is, right? So as good as that summer was for those guys, the conversation quickly turned to, okay, you guys need to go kind of cold turkey on the rowing for a couple weeks and just make sure you recharge your batteries and give your bodies a break. So, that was sort of the crux of the conversation I had with those guys after the regatta, and they did a good job of that. And now they're back up and training full time with the team. And yeah, great summer for them, great summer for the program, and looking forward to the impact they have this year. Does that answer your question, Hudson?
Most definitely. Most definitely. Thank you.
I can jump back in again then. So I have another Boston question for all of you coaches who are making that trip for the Charles. Very keen to hear from all of you. I mean, if you're able to divulge whether or not we can expect, particularly those of you with multiple crews going to Boston, will it be ranked crews by that point in the season? Have you got an idea of who's in your varsity, who's in your second varsity, or is it very much a training tool and you might put out some match dates or match fours for competition that weekend?
I guess I'll go. Nobody else say anything. So for us, I told you already, it's a training adventure with us. We're definitely training as a race. I'm not saying we're not. I never go anywhere to a race without trying to do everything we can for the guys to give them the opportunity. But to say that I know that I have the right 8 guys for my varsity, absolutely not. It's a competition. It takes a whole season for some of these guys to grow into this spot anyway. So it's the best that we can do at this point, and we're going to give them the opportunity to go display that.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Yeah, we're going to do ranked crews. So like for our program, we've got a champ 8. That'll be the top lineup. Champ 4 will be the next 4 guys. Club 8, club 4 in similar fashion. We select, just like Coach Kennett said, but I don't think we get it perfect in the fall. And one of the things we really try to do is reward the guys that come back in shape, right? So I expect that the top lineup in, kind of middle of October is going to be very different from the top lineup come April, May, early June. So yeah, we try to put out our best lineups at the time while also rewarding the guys that did work over the summer and came back ready to go.
We do the same. I mean, we'll have a champ 8 and a champ 4 as well, and club 8s, but we'll try to put our fastest lineup obviously we can with in the champ 8, and then kind of work down from there. So
Yeah, we have a 8 and a 4 entered as well. We'll probably lean towards selecting the 8 first, and the other 4 guys will be picked after. But it's still early. It's just a snapshot in October of where things are. I think I'll echo what the other coaches say. Things are going to change over the course of the year, but it's where we are at the moment.
Todd, over at Cornell, you have a young, former Brown athlete, Ben Olson on your program, and also Wyatt. You have some younger coaches as well. Just was wondering about what the impact is like having like those younger coaches on the staff. Recent former athletes. I just was wondering if that impacted the squad. Obviously, Todd, you've had younger coaches on your assistant roles throughout many years, and granted all the other coaches as well. But just was wondering if that's impacted the team at all.
I think it always impacts the team. I think there's a learning curve for everybody. And I think it depends on how they act. Obviously, Ben was a captain at Brown, so Ben Olson. So he's my one of these 2 assistants, and it's a lot of fun watching him interact with the guys, because I think he still has some numbers that he's really proud of that he did with Brown on the machine, and he's able to sit there, and as a guy comes back, look what I did. He can say, yeah, well, I did this more. So it's anytime you have anybody coming in like that, it brings in that competitive factor, and I love it. It's fun to watch that, and it's also fun to watch them learn and challenge me. There's no doubt that a young coach has to learn a lot of things, and there's so many aspects to coaching. You always think you're just sitting in the coach boat, but there's so many parts to not just sitting in the coach boat, but then off the water as well, and understanding your role. So it keeps me on my toes, because a lot of ways they're way better than me. And their ability to use technology and phones and all that kind of stuff, it makes me a way better coach and keeps me on my toes. So I'm not sure if I'm answering your whole question, but I absolutely love having my young assistants, as long as they're go-getters and they're trying to keep up with me, and I try to get competitive with them by outworking them. We have a really good time with it.
Yeah, I think that's really well said, Todd. And as you were asking that question, Hudson, I just was thinking about Sabrina and Jack, and I mean, more than anything, the thing that blows me away about the two of them is their work ethic and their ability to grind and willingness to grind. And I find myself challenged to keep up with them on a daily basis. And as a head coach, that's exactly what you want. And you know, they're both great recruiters. They love that grind. They've sort of acclimated and integrated into the team really quickly. I know the student athletes love working with them. You know, they're both effective coaches and continuing to learn and evolve. And I don't know how many people know, but Sabrina is Tom's daughter. And I would say that I have a ton of respect for Tom and watching what he's done with his program over the years and working with him and coaching against him. And I would say that the apple hasn't fallen far from the tree on that one. So I just feel incredibly fortunate to have both Sabrina and Jack on my staff, and they've been great additions. So
Awesome. Great to hear.
Do we have any more questions from the press?
I was going to ask a question about the spring schedules. How is that looking for everybody this year? Are the schedules kind of being formulated right now? Or are they already done and haven't been released yet? What's going on with that?
I guess I'll go quick. In the process of keeping things in the order we were, we're set. We added Drexel, so Matt's sitting on there with us this year. We're looking forward to a new early season race, as long as it doesn't get too cold up here. Have some ice event that we haven't had in global warming pandemics. We should be set to go, and everything else is traditional right through to the IRA. So it's all set for us. We're ready to go, and Matt, we'll see you soon. And with that, I'm also going to put in a little ploy. Wyatt, we get to see you still this fall. Wyatt's coming down in early November there with Reichman and Syracuse. So we're going to have a little three-way powwow in November.
Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, Hudson, I think most people have their schedules squared away. I think there's always a little bit of a hold up getting them onto the websites. It's interesting. I think there's been this movement, and I think we talked about it on the last media day. I think a lot of coaches are looking for ways to kind of mix up their traditional schedules and have multiple race weekends. And it's always a challenge because there are so many moving parts across the league when you kind of build in people's pre-existing schedules and their cup races that they want to honor. But I do think there's more and more creativity going on in the building out of spring schedules. And I think it's making for some really good racing, a lot more sort of cross-continental or racing across the coast, which is always fun to see and be part of. So yeah, I think most schedules are set. Ours should be going up soon if it's not up there already, but yeah.
No, our schedule is pretty set right now. Actually what Todd said before is that last year we had a race with Holy Cross and some other schools outside of our normal racing schedule, which was really good. And then the only thing different that we're maybe looking at is we're getting asked by the Crew Classic to come out this year and do a couple dual races out there. So we're just trying to iron that out if it fits into cost and everything like that. But yeah, we've done the Lake Maury invite the last, I don't know, this will be 3 years now, Wyatt. It's been really 3 races over 2 days, and it's I think for all the teams racing that, it's been really awesome. Really just 3 days of really good schools and competition and really good preparation come sprints and IRA with that format. So we'll be doing that again this year, I think, with some different schools but joining us this year. So it'll be good.
Yeah, pretty traditional what we usually do. Obviously, we have the classic Philly races. We're hosting the Kerr Cup here, the Bergen Cup, which is the city championship. Like Todd said, added Cornell early in the season. And then I guess our West Coast trip this year is a little bit different. We're going to go out to Redwood Shores instead of Vegas and race some combination of Cal, Stanford, Oregon State, and I think UC San Diego or University of San Diego. So still kind of ironing that out. But yeah, it should be good. A little bit different on our end. But yeah, definitely excited to race some new competition, get some new looks at other teams, and yeah, just kind of see where we stack up.
As Matt said, we've got a couple of Philly traditionals, the Bergen Cup at end of April being one, and also recently for us being part of the Occoquan invite in early to mid-April with a combination of schools from sort of the traditional Dad Vale and then some Eastern Sprint schools, sort of a a morning afternoon sort of flights format, that's some of the, I think, sort of fun, interesting twists to the traditional cup race type stuff that we've been able to make part of our schedule. And I still have a few open weekends that I might or might not fill, right? But I think some of that is, racing every weekend between end of March and let's say qualifying events in early May. That's a lot. So we try and sort of have a few train through weekends in there to kind of keep things fresh. But, for the most part, our schedule will continue to stay where it has. We've really liked how it's evolved over the last few years.
Our spring schedule will probably look pretty similar to the way that it has been. I have put a question mark on Sierra just because nobody has said officially what's happening with IRA bids out of that event. That's a relatively close trip for us. It's only about 10 hours away. But so I've kind of been on the fence. That time of year in this part of the country, there's not a whole lot of racing that seems to be going on collegiately. So although we benefit from having a lot of teams come down to train out of our facility in the winter months when everybody else can get back on their water, that's where they go. And so every once in a while we'll be able to throw a scrimmage or an official race on the calendar kind of late in the process. But it'll probably look a lot like it did last couple springs.
One question for Matt Weaver at Drexel. You had mentioned just now about the race with all the teams in Las Vegas at the Las Vegas Invitational, and I was just wondering about that because last year there were some troubles with the weather and whatnot. It kind of seems like a problem every year when that race comes up. So just wondering about is that one of the reasons why you guys are kind of moving away from that regatta, or kind of trying to do your own thing, or just wondering if that kind of was part of the reason as to why that Drexel won't be coming out here to the West Coast.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a bunch of different things. I think we were just kind of looking to, switch up the schedule a little bit and see some different teams. Obviously, Cal and Oregon State and Drexel had been kind of traditionally out of Vegas, but I think, we got a chance to, go out to Redwood Shores, add Stanford to that race. So yeah, I think we're just excited about that opportunity for the guys. Maybe a good prep for IRA, spring 2026 too, being out on the West Coast. So just getting those guys ready, learn how to travel across the country, things like that. Flying into maybe a similar airport and things like that. So it's kind of like some long-term thinking there of getting the team ready and, just seeing a little bit of different competition. But yeah, I still think Vegas is happening in a little bit of a different format. I'm not sure if we're going to be involved or not, but yeah, kind of with our planning this year, kind of looking more towards Redwood Shores versus Las Vegas.
Thanks, Matt.
Is there any more questions from the press at this time? If not, thank you all for being here, and I hope you all have a very successful fall. Good morning, coaches. My name is Lauren, and I'm going to be mediating this Zoom today. So I want to thank you guys for all coming to the fall 2024 4-Star podcast media availability. I'm going to start with our opening statement. So you're just going to introduce yourself as a coach, what you're excited for looking forward to this fall and this upcoming season. So we can start with Fairfield.
Hi there, I'm David Patterson, Director of Rowing for Fairfield University. So as we progress, the big change that we've had as a program as of last year was focusing on rowing the 8, like all college programs are supposed to. We'd had a previous year successfully winning medals at the head of the Charles, Dad Vale gold, Dad Vale silver. And so last year we made the step up and it's like, no, we're just going to have to do what everyone else is doing and focus on the 8s. And it was a baptism of fire, but having experienced what we did last year and sort of found our niche, we're excited to see if we can do a better job of it this year. And so far, so good.
Thank you, Coach. We can go over to Hobart now.
Hi, everyone. Chris Kerber, head coach at Hobart Rowing. My second season here, so just trying to continue the early momentum with our first recruiting class, and then also just in the talent management side of things, just develop our athletes, support them both in and out of the boat, and looking forward to a great year. Just getting my feet dirty and excited about the season ahead.
Thank you, Coach. We can hear from Holy Cross now.
Hi, Jim Barr with Holy Cross. Excited for the fall. We graduated one guy from our top 3 boats last year. So we've got a lot of returning speed. Depth is the name of the game right now. We've got 3/8 moving about our 1V speed this time last year. So It's about figuring out who's at the top, who's in the middle, and who's at the bottom right now. And excited to kick things off this weekend at the Snake on our home course.
Thank you, Coach. And lastly, we can hear from Iona.
Hi, so I'm Ben MacDougald. I'm the director of rowing for Iona University. We've definitely gone through a lot of changes. This will be my second year with Iona. I was actually previously Jim's assistant up at Holy Cross. This is my second year here with Iona. We've been going through a big transition. We were a smaller team, similar to Fairfield. We competed in a lot of smaller events, such as like the Pair at Dad Vales. So last year was really our first foray into the 8, which went, very, very well. Our trajectory was steeper than I could have ever asked for, especially with our results at the NIRC up in Worcester. This fall, we have a 4 in the collegiate 4 on the men's side. Last year, we had an 11 place program best for the program. So we're, that's going to be tough to top, but we're gonna do our best.
Thank you, coaches. And now I can open it up to the press and invite them for ask questions.
Thanks, Lauren. I still haven't figured out where the hand raise button is on Zoom yet, so I'll just jump in. Hi, coaches. Fergus Mainland from JRN and the End of the Island podcast based in London, UK, making the trip out to Head of the Charles in a couple of weeks. So very excited to see some racing stateside. Just on that, very keen to hear from all of you who are making the trip to the Charles, how it factors into your fall seasons and what sort of preparation you've done ahead of this year's Head of the Charles Regatta.
So we really do consider the fall to be the Head of the Charles to be our fall championship for, lack of a better expression. But that being said, the Charles is such a chaotic event. Everything depends on, where you're starting, who's around you, who's trying to pass who, when, what the refs are looking at. I try to not put too much stock in it. Obviously, last year, with our result being so much better than it had been in previous years, coming in 6th, where our previous best was 17th. That's been really great for recruiting. But in terms of, our internal metrics, we don't put as much stock into it. The NIRC is our championship, whether it be fall or the spring. So that's what we always have our eyes set to. But this is a great opportunity to really demonstrate that the program has gone through some changes. We demonstrated that last year and seek to continue to demonstrate that this year.
I'd say the Head of the Charles, it's an athlete's race. They want to do it, and it's so big. It is a platform. Recruits want to see us there. The athletes want to race it. And so, we do everything we can to support that. One of the problems that I think it brings, especially as we start off, every year it's a new year, right? So the seniors have gone, incoming freshmen are here, and we're just trying to get everyone on the same page and make sure we're growing teams. And it's one of the interesting things about the sport in general that compares to soccer, for example, where, you might have 4 defenders, 4 midfield, 2 forwards. I can say football, can't I? It's a British press guy. It's like, how do you, and the goalkeeper, how do you get these 11 people with their different roles and their different functions operating as one? Whereas with rowing, we actually take this large group of people that basically all do the same thing and we divide them up. I mean, it's really divisive. And so to open up your season, so for our men's team, for example, we've got 1-8 entered in the club 8. The very first thing we're doing is trying to find the top 8. And then everyone's like, well, what about us? And it's like, should have come in fitter. It's a rough start to this season for it to be so important for the athletes. So again, we try and support it, but the general picture is, are we going after it so aggressively that it's going to be detrimental to setting up the team for the spring when we really are judged? So it's a balancing act.
Yeah, Jim Barr from Holy Cross. I would echo everything said there. Definitely one of those races where it has a lot of outside factors. We are, as of right now, only 2 8s in there. 1V in the collegiate, 1 8 in the club. We've got a couple of waitlist 8s still holding out hope, but kind of looking slim chances of getting other 8s in there at this point. But yeah, agreed. It's important for us to race our full squad. We've got over 5/8 of guys, so being able to get them some racing experience this weekend and the weekend after at some of the local regattas is great. But yeah, it's a big stage. Definitely very helpful for recruiting. We've been doing some island turn shots on Quinsig, practicing those turns, and
we're close enough that, we'll be able to go over there the week of and do some work on the course prior to the head of the Charles. But I think, it's a lot of it is a Coxswain's race too. It's an exciting one, where the Coxswains play such a pivotal role. There's some game time decisions a lot of the time, some potential collisions that you're avoiding, bridges, all sorts of stuff. So it's exciting. Definitely for the athletes, very exciting. But yeah, we're trying to win gold in the collegiate, and we'll see if we can pull that off.
Nice. Sorry for the conductivity issues, but as a guy that used to run the head of the Charles, this is Chris Kerber from Hobart, very exciting time. Build a on land, on water selection procedure for the fall. The guys are throwing themselves at it. Absolutely love it. Not only for the athletes and coxswains who are hanging those turns. You have your alumni group, and it's really gotten even more expanded outside the rowing alumni. Our school really kind of attacks Boston that weekend. So much going on. And yeah, it is a big regatta. It is a big regatta. And I really like the risk taking that's taking place by athletes, but also it's a necessary thing. I think a coach has said, it's like the biggest race that doesn't mean anything. Well, I think it means something. I never got to go there as a collegiate student. I think these races are really important. Even the Henley, let's get over there. Let's put our faces into it, and just, it's for the athletes. It's all about the athletes. So that's my head of the Charles report.
For those of you who are sending multiple crews, is it more of a selection event? Are you sending ranked crews where you have your top crews ready to go, or are you sending mixed crews to go and race in a couple of weeks' time, or throughout your racing season in the fall?
I'd say the plan for us is definitely having a 1V and a 2V. But with a lot of depth, it's hard to do that sometimes, but I think we'll be able to get that figured out. But yeah, for us, it's a 1V and a 2V going there.
I've got 1-4, so it's my top 4.
We do have a one boat, and it's going to be a one boat. It's not about, senior row over. No, I'm like, everyone wants to go. So I think it's just right that you send the best 8 when you only have an option of one boat.
Lauren, I had one more from me, and particularly for Iona and Fairfield, just hearing your comments about years and periods of transitions. How have you felt sort of taking your athletes on this journey of this period of transition and sort of focusing a lot more on the 8, and how have you found taking them on that journey, and how are they looking forward to upcoming seasons and a bit of change in your programs?
Sure. So it's been really exciting. Luckily, I'm blessed with athletes who are eager to grow, eager to learn. I was a little bit nervous when I told them that we were going to be transitioning from, the lightweight 4 or the open weight pair, which we had won at Dadvale's the year prior to me showing up. I was a little bit nervous saying, hey, that was all great, but we're gonna move over to this, to, as Dave said, to what everybody else does, into what collegiate rowing is truly about. And they were excited about that. For them, it's about competing against the top level of competition that they can. So suddenly, going from, the pair event, which, to be quite frank, a lot of high schoolers aren't checking who wins the pair at Dadvale's, to suddenly racing, Hobart, MIT, Marist, Fairfield over and over again last year. They've been really, really excited about that. The biggest struggle that we've run into in this transition is depth. Similar to, say, a Stetson, we've historically been a smaller program. Last year, we had an 8 and a 4. That was it. Our 4 won NIRC, and our 8 did surprisingly well in the petite final. So, our message to recruits has been that they're the missing piece of the puzzle right now, is that depth. And, what we always say is, look what we did when we were just an 8 and a 4. Imagine when we are 2 8s, 3 8s, or, as they have at Holy Cross, 5 8s plus, right? That's going to be really exciting. So I've been lucky to be able to bring on 2 assistants within the last year, and they've hit the ground running when it comes to recruiting. Because that's going to be, as I just said, really the missing piece of the puzzle, and our biggest way to continue to improve and rise up the ranks within the NIRC.
So from the Fairfield perspective, it's a similar story, but slightly longer. So the men got varsity status my first year in 2007, and sort of looked at what we had I was like, well, we've got a really good light 4. And then beyond that, I was like, well, we've got a really good pair. And then I hired an assistant coach, the legendary in my mind, Brian Pape, who once he got hired, just turned around to me and said, "You're doing it all wrong." He said, "This is America, we do the 8." And so from 07 through to 2015, we basically went, pair 4 up to the 8s. And by the time we got to 2015, we had a really strong group where, we actually had 4 8s going out, 2 8s that were actually, they're pretty good. But then, we sort of wanted more. So then we actually broke it down a bit again, sort of upped the standards and said, okay, the challenge now is we need to start showing up to the IRA. And obviously that wasn't going to be happening in an 8 anytime soon. So again, it was sort of go down, build up from the 4s again. And sure enough, the very first time we went to the IRA, we had some good people in that boat, and they got last. And they were like, "Oh, okay, this is different." And so they're waiting up from like E finals, C final, B final, and then so we've just been growing. And again, we hit that watershed in the 4 where we get ahead of the Charles medal, we get a Dadvale gold, we get a Dadvale silver. It's like, okay, now we've got to go to the big boat again. And actually it was really beneficial to us, with Ben at Iona being conference rivals, that they went to the 8 at the same time and kind of did very well. So that's sort of like, in terms of conference rivalry, that's been really useful, I think, for both of us. And just growing the program, doing what everyone else is doing, and having a local rival that is not going to give us an inch is helping.
I'm going to jump in here. I got a question for Jim Barr over at Holy Cross. You'd mentioned that you're having a race coming up. There's been a lot of chat with the guys on the team about that on social media. Have you been seeing that stuff? And have you been hearing about that as well from the guys as well, just about getting the guys pumped up for the race?
Yeah, so we have current student running our social media. He's a senior, Ben Davis, who's a volunteer assistant coach for us this year, and he's been doing a great job putting up some awesome posts. Yeah, guys are definitely pumped. We're trying to keep our heads on straight and focus on what's right ahead of us, and that's this Saturday, and starting off battle number 2 behind MIT Lights. So we definitely know where the bullseye is.
Right. I'm excited to see how that race comes along for you guys. I'll ask another question here while I'm at it. Spring schedules. Would love to know what you guys have going on for the spring. Our last group had talked a lot about how they want to keep the similar, traditional cup races throughout the year, but they want to kind of add more races, maybe like a double header throughout the weekends if possible. Is there any changes from last year's schedule to this year's schedule that you're going to be being a part of this year? Any larger invitational races? I know that the Madeira Cup is pretty big, obviously for Holy Cross and whatnot, but just didn't know if there's any big spring schedule, races coming up that are maybe different than previous years.
So I know one of the races we're really looking forward to is, I believe right now, as the schedule goes, is our opener. Last year was the first time it ran. It's us at Iona, Fairfield, Lehigh, and Loyola. One of the reasons I really like that race is all 4 of us are, in the position of being head coaches for both of our teams. So we bring the men and the women's squads all there, and it's a great rivalry of schools that are not too distant from each other, and also in a same situation, especially because we find ourselves sometimes a little hampered by the fact that we always have to travel with the men and the women at the same time, because there are some races we'd like to get in, that would be just for the men's team or just for the women's team. So we look to compete there, and also at some bigger regattas like Necht Cup or Connect Cup, depending on who you ask about its pronunciation. But yeah, for us, it's always about really trying to, as we transition this program into the 8s and into what we hope to be an IRA worthy crew soon, about raising the standard of who we race. That's why we entered NIRC, was to see, Chris's crews at Hobart and be able to race them, and Marist and MIT as well. It's all about us. For us, it's all about raising the standard. So we're still looking to build some races into our schedule where we can stiffen up some competition, see some people maybe that we didn't see last year, that were ranked a little bit higher than us. But yeah, that's what we're looking forward to.
Thank you. Can we hear for Holy Cross?
Yeah, so we were very happy with our spring schedule last year. It was the right amount of racing, not too much, not too little. A couple of off weekends there where we could do some selection mid-year. So we were really hoping that we could replicate that this year, and it looks like we're going to be able to do that. The main piece that was up in the air was the Occoquan invite. With the new coaching staff at Navy, Gladstone taking that up at the helm there, which is very exciting to see. But they've just let us know that they're going to run that again. And so that was kind of the last piece of our puzzle. We're still trying to nail down BU for one of the mid-April races, but we'll probably put our heads together shortly. I know Hobart's interested in that one again as well. So we're looking to just nail that one down, and then we should be good to kind of repeat what we had last year.
Thank you, Coach. Can we hear from Hobart?
Yeah, from the Hobart side, again, my second year, and to kind of answer not only the previous question, but this question, been on the phone with Iona, been on some email threads. I think everybody wants to improve, innovative coaches looking to improve or add something to the schedule, or the doubleheader on the weekend. Gotta love that. New to the spring season last year, we had races every Saturday in April where we had multiple competitors. Really love the Quinsigamond Regatta, the HC invite with BU and two other Temple coaches, Temple alumni coaches. So that's pretty fun for me, that's for sure. And then just trying to stack it where it's appropriate, and then come out bombing and get to the NIRC in mid-May. So love the innovation, love the culture that we're creating for our athletes at this level, putting them in as many competitive environments over the weekends as possible.
Thank you, Coach. And lastly, we can hear from Fairfield.
So for the spring, I think we're looking at a pretty similar schedule as last year. To echo what Ben said, I actually really do like the grouping that we have of Iona, Loyola, Lehigh, and Fairfield. Again, and for the exact same reason that, I've got one truck and one trailer. And so it's challenging, frankly, to find race schedules that's going to fit both teams at the same time, because most other programs, Division 1 or Division 3, they are separate entities. And so that's exciting that we get that race going, and hopefully we can keep it going. The only other challenge that I always have is the end of season. We've typically been a Dad Vale school. My eyes do keep on turning to the National Invitational up in Lake Quinsigamond, with Iona going and Marist going, sort of two schools that compete in the same. Like, we don't have a conference for men's rowing. The MAC doesn't do men's rowing, but we are all MAC schools. So my eyes definitely turn towards racing them. And of course, when you look at the size of our school, size of our program, there is something very, I don't know, something I would like about, competing against the likes of Trinity and Wesleyan and, the schools in our region, which just happen to be very fast Division 3 schools. And so I think that's why the NIRC is a good fit. We just race in Philadelphia so much anyway. It's like, maybe we'd have a change, but the only thing that holds me back on that is, of course, Dad Vale's is 2 days. 2 days, and if they have bad weather on one day, they find a way to get the regatta on. And Quinsigamond, it's 1 day, and if it's blown off, it's done. And so that always makes me nervous, because you don't want to end the season looking at waves. So,
is there any more questions from the press at this time? If not, thank you all for being here, and I hope you all have a very successful fall. I just wanted to thank you guys for being here and to welcome you to the Fall 2024 4 Stars Podcast Media Availability. To start, we're just going to go over our opening statement, so please introduce yourself and what you're looking forward to either this season, this year, etc. So we can start with Marist.
Hi, my name is Campbell Woods. I'm the head coach at Marist. We're looking forward to a very busy year. We have a really large recruiting class. We had 25 incoming athletes. And so it's a very young group and we're really just focused on developing and seeing how far we can get in their first year.
Thank you, Coach. We can move over to Pennsylvania now.
Thanks, Lauren. Hey, this is Monte. I'm the head coach here at Penn. Just entered my 3rd year here. We're excited. We've got a big returning group. So 23 of 24 from the IRA from last year are back. We've got, I think, 14 incoming, including coxswains. So it's a big squad, certainly bigger than we had last year. Last year when we had everyone healthy, we had 40 athletes, and we could put 5/8 on the water. So and we always cherish those days when we could get everyone out in an 8. Now we've been boating 5/8 every day, even with some illness and some injuries. So it's been fun. It's an ambitious group. They put some goals out there, and hopefully we can work toward accomplishing them.
Thank you, Coach.
Hi. Oh, sorry, I got on late. I was literally just rowing with the guys. Myself had to jump in a straight 4 and get them good. So yeah, I don't know. The question is just trying to we actually graduated 14 guys last year from the IRA squads, which is a lot, right? Because we had a few 5th-year guys mixed in that with the COVID stuff, and now and then all the seniors too. So it is kind of like a new group. I wouldn't say that it's rebuilding, because we still have a lot of guys. We still have I heard, Al, you were saying that you had 5/8. We still are putting out 5/8 on the water. It's just a different field, different group, different everything, because those senior leaders are gone from last year. And now it's going to have to be some new blood that are going to take over those roles. It's a little bit unknown, but it's also a little bit kind of exciting to have that, because we've had kind of the same core group for those 4 or 5 years. And now it's like, I'm really looking forward to seeing what these newer guys do. Yeah. And we're up and running with this quarter system. We started a little later than everybody else. Like, we literally started last week. So, but then we gained some time, I guess, back in January. Campbell knows what I'm talking about. Like, we start out, like, our first day of classes was last Wednesday. So it's just we got to start going fast now.
Thank you, coaches. We can now open it up to media for any questions.
Hi, coaches. Fergus Mainland from JRN and the End of the Island podcast based in London, UK. Obviously, ahead of the Charles is a couple of weeks away now. Just very keen to hear from all of you about how preparation has gone, but also in terms of your thoughts on the regatta and how it fits into your fall schedules.
Head of the Charles is very exciting, very fun for the athletes. We view it essentially like going to the state fair. It's a festival. It's a lot of fun. It is important to the athletes to get selected for one of the faster boats that gets to row there. But in the broad scheme of the IRA and the races we're going to do over the course of the year, it's really pretty meaningless. The course is very technical. Anything can happen. And so we don't really look at the result of the Charles as being something that's super important, but it's still a race that we want to go and have our best row on a great course. And it's a huge event for our alumni. We'll have 4 different alumni events, boats rowing there this year. And so it's really just a great time to gather and be around the whole rowing community.
I'll hop in there. Yeah, I would say, Campbell, I think we feel the same way about it. You know, it's a check mark. It's a way to check in against our peers and see how we're stacking up at this point in the year. But it's a long year. And for a lot of crews, it takes every day until we get to the sprints of the IRA to make the crew the best it can be. So I think it's a good marker for us. We're going to go out there and we're going to give it our all. So we'll be racing a Champ 8, a Champ 4, and a Club 8. And our guys are focused on trying to make those crews and try to make them fast. That's the real thing that we're trying to do. And hopefully there's a little bit of luck on our side. And, in terms of getting down the race course successfully without incident, and hopefully we can make our own luck in terms of the boat speed. So that's what we're working on right now.
Yeah, some coaches like really kind of are like, oh, we got to do the head of the Charles. Like, oh my goodness, it's such a pain. But I actually really enjoy it, even coming from the West Coast. Unless you're a rowing aficionado like that is deep into the game, I'll ask anybody on Monday who got second place. And like, I don't know. Nobody can remember really what happened, but it's always like memorable. It's always that happened and this happened, and you met all the people and you walk through the gauntlet in the tents, and it's always such a good time. We send out a 4 mainly because it's just hard for us to get out there with an 8 in a champ 4. That's our yes, we will have our top guys in it, top 4 guys, and that some like Al and all the guys will probably have their JV level guys maybe in those boats. But I think it's a fun race that be competitive in, and they have a shot to do pretty well. And then always the goal is like, can we get the guaranteed bid for next year? Those markers are always trying to hit, and the selection from the summer is always there. There's that carrot out there that is really nice to have, that it just, instead of making it a just dull training fall, you get something out there, guys. Hey, if we get some scores, we can actually go to the head of the Charles. And we also do, I don't know, Campbell, are you even rowing? We're borrowing a boat from you probably for our Oregon State alums. There was a heated selection for that, I guess, like ERG tests and benchmarks that they had to hit. So that's always cool to see too.
And I think for Marist and for Penn, who are sending multiple boats, will it be ranked crews where you have your top guys racing in your top boats, or is it very much match crews and just seeing what various combinations do at this stage in the season?
For Marist, we'll have our top 8 in the Collegiate 8 event, and then our next fastest 4 in the Collegiate 4 event. And then our alumni are doing whatever. The alumni 8 managed to get a guaranteed bid last year. And similar to what Gabe mentioned, they'll have a little bit of selection to get that boat. They're sending in some ERG scores and stuff.
Yeah, Fergus, for us, it'll be our top 8 in the champ 8. Our next 4 guys will be in the champ 4, and then the remaining eligible guys for the club 8.
I think one more for me for all 3 of you at this stage in the season. I mean, you've talked about various sizes of athletes classes who have left, but also coming in. Do you get your freshmen integrated straight away into your whole squads, or do you keep your freshmen as a unit throughout winter, or what does it look like as an arrival at a freshman for your programs?
Well, I just mentioned, we did start school like a week ago, but we do have a little freshman session before that for 4 weeks before that, which is really awesome. They call it the bridge program here. It's just for freshman athletes. They come in and they get cleared and they start training and all that, and they get the lay of the land, and it starts to really build the team at that moment. I love it because it's just the freshmen, and it's like you really get to know them. You get to know their personalities and everything. I love that time period, and it does give us a little bit of like slowly integrating them into the team. And by the time we really start, they are all kind of up to speed and able to be right there with us. Like some teams might have like a freshman squad. We put them, they're in the mix, whatever boats they can get in, and some are competing for the top seats. So yeah, it's not like we separate them out at that moment.
Yeah, the freshmen for us are integrated almost immediately into the varsity crew. Because we don't really race freshman crews in the spring anymore, they're there isn't kind of that drive to have separated freshman rowing. We'll definitely have 2 or 3 freshmen in our top boat this year. So if they're strong and their scores are good and they row well, they can contribute right away to the top boats. Which I think is exciting for the freshmen in general. We will be racing a freshman 8 at least at 1, maybe 2 events this fall. And that's kind of fun for them, just shows them the kind of opportunity that could have, would have, maybe should have been as a class. And so that's always really fun. We'll do a freshman 8 at the head of the Schuylkill, which is the weekend after the Charles. But other than that, the class will be integrated with the rest of the crew.
Yeah, similar for us. We don't row a freshman. We don't have a freshman program. We don't have a freshman 8. What we did this year, every year is different, with what we did this year, because we had some guys coming back from the World Championships pretty late. Those guys were off. So it gave us an opportunity to have the rest of our, returning varsity and JV rowers. We put our incoming freshmen with those guys for the first about week and a half, just to try to integrate them technically and the way that we move in the boat, and gave me an opportunity to work one-on-one with those younger guys, which was good. But then it becomes a meritocracy. We start doing some selection. We start doing some stuff on the erg. It starts to kind of move around based on who's figuring out the stroke better, who's moving the boat most effectively, and we kind of take it from there. So it's the fall's a real steep learning curve, I think, for the freshmen on a lot of levels. No matter what level they're coming in at, I think it's a steep learning curve.
I got a question myself. Again, I don't think I even introduced myself or just said hello, but thanks for everyone for being here so far. Again, I have a question for Gabe over at Oregon State. We just had Matt Weaver on from Drexel, and he was talking about the Las Vegas Invitational, and he said that they weren't able to make it out for this one this year. So just was wondering if you guys are planning on going into that one too, or what that's looking like. I know last year we talked about kind of like what's going to happen with that race for this spring, or just kind of wanted to know what's the plan for Oregon State this year.
As you know, what happens at Vegas, man. It's so unpredictable. You gotta roll the dice and hopefully that it goes snake eyes, but it's just the wind and everything there is too variable for us to go back. It's like I've gone there now 8 times, and 7 of those times were unrollable. And like last year we had to condense everything into an hour block, and it was just craziness. And that's happened every single year basically that we've gone there. So we're probably going to move that race that same time, same weekend. We're probably going to race similar teams at Redwood Shores. So it'll be us, Cal, UCSD, Santa Clara, and whoever else. I think they are. I'm not really running that show, but I think they're trying to get somebody from the East Coast. Campbell's come out to the Vegas one year, and I don't know if you remember that, Campbell. Speaking of wind, our JV races were like 8 minutes long. Like literally, like the winning time was something like 8:05, and they won. So it's like, yeah, I don't know who the East Coast team is going to be there this year. That's for maybe Scott Franzen to do that. But the invitation for Al and Campbell is out there. If you guys want to get some decent rowing early season, it's good to go. And being at Redwood Shores, it's more of a guarantee that you're actually going to race. Like even in the heaviest wind that I've ever seen at Redwood Shores, you can always race. There's never been a time there that you're not able to row. We're at Vegas last year, it was like 27 mile an hour wind, not even remotely rowable.
I remember those days from when we went back when I was at Dartmouth. There was
yes.
Fun times in Vegas.
Yeah, worst rowing and most fun weekend trip we've been on.
Right.
Question about that race, actually. Is it going to be like a 2-day race or like a race weekend, or is it like a 1 day? What's the plan for that?
It'll probably be, I think, got to really look at the dates. I think it's March 2nd and 3rd down at Redwood Shores. So hopefully racing, they're going to obviously be duels at Redwood Shores, 4 teams side by side, 2 races on Saturday, 1 on Sunday is going to most likely be the format.
Really excited for this one. Should be a good start to the spring season.
Yeah, it might be like one of the early ones.
Just one quick question again, I guess, for Gabe, because this is one of our first West Coast teams here. We had talked last media day about the plan for the quote unquote Western sprints. What's the outlook for this year with the Pac-12 pretty much being out of the mix?
Yeah, we have now signed on to the MPSF, which is the Mountain Pacific Sports Federation. We have all of the legacy Pac-12 teams in that are all signed on and ready to go with that right now. And I believe the other teams on the West Coast are getting their administrators to do the same. And the idea is to have everybody in Natoma on the 2nd week in May for that championship, hopefully with all 8 of the teams out here with that being the regatta. It's been, yes, we're already into this year and it's still not 100% set in stone, but we personally have signed on as a Stanford, Cal, and Washington to the MPSF. Now we're just trying to get all the writing fully on so then we could get all 8 teams going in May. You give Eastern Sprints something to run against. Like everybody's tuning in to their Eastern Sprints finals. That's awesome. That's great. Like, oh my goodness. Hey man, think about that. 2 hours later, we're doing the same thing on the West Coast. Like, who's going to win that final? Kind of cool.
Is there any more questions from the press at this time? If not, thank you all for being here, and I hope you all have a very successful fall. Good morning, coaches. My name is Lauren, and I'm going to be mediating this Zoom today. So I want to thank you guys for all coming to the fall 2024 4-Star podcast media availability. I'm going to start with our opening statement. So you're just going to introduce yourself as a coach, what you're excited for looking forward to this fall and this upcoming season.
Yeah, my name is Bart Thompson. I'm the head coach at University of San Diego for the men's rowing program. It's been really fun. This is year 4, so my first year where everyone has only been coached by me in the program, and I think that's helped us a lot in terms of just cultural buy-in to kind of who we are and what we're about. I think our recruiting has been really solid and really strong. Fastest recruiting class we've had since I've been here. We do a back to school 6K, and I think our top 16 average was faster than last year's top 8 average. So I think that bodes well. And really great energy, really great group of guys. We're still obviously very early in the fall, but we're for us, obviously going all the way to head of the Charles with a 4 and an 8 is a big deal, and we're certainly looking forward to that. Trying to figure out right now who that group of guys is going to be. Last year we had the Collegiate 4 get silver, get 2nd, which was the program best after 2 years ago getting 3rd. And I think the question will be, do we prioritize the 4? Do we prioritize the 8? And we're still looking at how that's going to shake out depending on, again, lineups and depth and health and different things. But yeah, definitely, so far early indications would be best team we've had since I've been here, and certainly a group of guys who really is willing to work for it. So
thank you, Coach.
Hi, everybody. My name is Krakic, the LaSalle's director of rowing and men's head coach. Very excited for the season. We are now up to 40 guys on the team. We doubled our roster since I came on board 2 years ago. So that's super exciting to just have a bigger team, a lot more boats, to be more competitive internally. So our big focus and big goal this year is to, have fun, go fast, and develop everybody equally, so we can push each other to get better every single day.
Thank you, Coach.
Well, hi there. I'm Preston Weinard. I am the head coach for men's rowing here at Jacksonville University. This fall we got started kind of early with our academic schedule, starting a little early. So we've been at it for quite some time now. We're going into week 7. And it's been a really good ride. We have elevated our volume and intensity in training. We've really elevated the incoming group of freshmen that have come in, and they've really already added value and impact to our program, enhancing what we have with our upperclassmen. And we actually added a good amount of novices as well. So just walk on straight off campus for our biggest roster ever. Lots of dudes down here working hard. Lots of dudes that are excited about the program and excited about where we can go. So the energy's been really great. The commitment to training has been really great, and it's just about getting better every single day. So it's been fun to have that attitude and energy throughout the boathouse. This fall, we won't have a big racing schedule. We'll only be heading down to the Canal 54 in Melbourne for a Florida round robin style fall race. But looking forward to that. It's always great competition in the state of Florida. And so we've all elevated our programs really well, and it's exciting to see that. So it'll be fun to get together and just kind of duke it out as a Florida unit. But then after that, it's pretty much straight into winter break for us. JU has a long winter break, about 6 to 7 weeks. So a lot of talk about training on their own and what the guys can do to elevate themselves for January when we hit it hard pretty quickly when we come back. So that's really the outlook for the fall. Overall, for the whole year, coming off of a year where we qualified for the IRA via automatic qualification for the first time in program history, the big thing to do, and we celebrate that, but we got to do it again. And we want to be able to do that again at every opportunity we get. So that's been the main focus in training long term. We are committed to going to the Henley Royal Regatta in 2025 as well, the first time that JU has gone in 30 years. So a lot of good is happening. A lot of things to do, lots to do, but lots to enjoy as well. That's pretty much a summation. I could probably go on forever, but if anybody's got questions about specific stuff, I'm all ears.
Thank you, coaches. Now we can open up the press for any questions at this time. Fergus, you can start us off.
I'm obviously ahead of the Charles, a couple of weeks away. That's coming up. I'm very keen to hear from you. I mean, Bart, you touched on it a little bit already. How does it fit into your respective fall training schedules, and how much of a priority is it for you guys at this point in the year?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I mean, I think for us, obviously in the grand scheme of the year, I always say to the guys, try to name who won the Champ 8 the year before, and most people can't do it. I think it's, in the grand scheme of the spring, it's not a big thing. But I think in a sport like rowing that has such a history, such a pageantry, such a tradition to it, the head of the Charles is, despite being a head race and not a sprint race, I think arguably the most, famous American rowing race there is. I think for our guys, for our West Coast guys, it's an opportunity to go to a race in the East Coast that, maybe some of them either haven't been to or haven't been to since high school. And for our East Coast guys, it's a good opportunity to go back to their, the closer to home and have family that maybe has an easier time seeing them in that race. Also, again, just because of the nature of how far it is and flights and whatnot, like, I think if you're going to spend money on something like this, like, you better go and, get your money's worth in terms of performance. So, while we recognize that it ultimately isn't indicative necessarily of where we're going to be in May and, early June, for this time of year for the fall, it's certainly a really big priority for us to, prove ourselves worthy of the opportunity to go that far. There's not obviously a ton of West Coast teams who get to go, and to have 2 boats going. Last year was our first time ever sending 2 boats. One was lottery. Again, our 4 got second. Our 8, which was our 5 through 12 guys, started bow 36, I think passed 6 crews and finished 17 to get the automatic spot. And so first time we've known, ever that we've known all year that we're taking 2 8s 2 boats, an 8 and a 4. And for us, yeah, it's a really big deal to go and make sure that we, again, take advantage of the financial support that we've been allotted to do a trip like this. And just, I think, again, it's a lot of fun for our guys. We're really fortunate. We have a family friend that allows us to stay in their home instead of staying in a hotel. And so it's kind of a special time. Instead of being in separate rooms, we're all in this one big house. And it's a great bonding experience for the group who goes. So yeah, important thing. Definitely looking forward to it, and excited to see if we can improve on our historical results.
Thank you. We can hear from LaSalle.
So Charles is obviously a very special race for us. It's closer to us than obviously San Diego. So, but the cost is still pretty large. Staying in hotels up there, especially that weekend, gets pretty hectic. But I see it as a really good experience for the guys. Really, I think that's our main number one goal, is just providing the best experience that we can. And Charles is definitely one of those, being the biggest race in the world for head racing. And you go there, you see a lot of Olympians race, a lot of guys that straight up just came back from Olympics and won. My countrymen, the Sinkovich brothers, are racing there, so it's going to be super exciting to see everybody again, and just for our guys to see that next level of rowing. Is we always strive to be the best, and you got to see the best, you got to race the best to be the best. So we're in a good spot this year. Our varsity is starting second in the collegiate category. We're looking to make that final step and hopefully win that race. We're also racing our collegiate 4. They're starting 5th. And then our club 4 is starting 9th. There might be other way around, not forget what it is, but racing 3 boats this year. Super excited for all of them. I think that the team depth will help with the results this year. So we're going to have a really fun next couple of weeks of selection to finalize those lineups. But very excited. It's one of the biggest races for us in the fall. It will not determine much for the spring, but just it's always better to start the spring by knowing you did really well in the fall than not doing well in the fall. So that's our goal, is to do the best that we can at Charles.
Preston, pressing you a little bit further on Henley, what was it that prompted you to make the decision to head over next year?
No, that's a great question. Well, it's always been a bucket list item for me. I've actually never left the country. So for me, it's always been out there that I wanted to do it. But, Jacksonville University took an 8 in 1995. The men went to the Royal Henley Regatta in 1995, and we haven't been since. And we haven't been on a real international trip since then either. So trying to elevate the experience for our student athletes, but really get our name out there and put Jacksonville back on the map. And of course, internationally is a great place to do that, but why not do that at the Henley Royal Regatta? So that's been the main goal. Our women took an 8 and a 4 and a double this past summer to the women's Henley Regatta. They had a fantastic experience. They were traveling through the Netherlands and things like that as well. And so we're looking to bring that experience to our men's team.
And then just off the back of the summer that you had and getting boats automatically qualified to the IRAs, how's your squad shaping up in terms of at this point in the season compared to last year? And what sort of momentum have you been able to carry forward from that?
Good question. We've been able to carry good momentum. The energy that we had at IRA was like another level for us. I think usually we go to the IRA and it's kind of like, happy to be here. We're glad that we're competing. This year was kind of like we made it and we belong. There was a different of a shift there in mentality, and they've carried that energy through the start of the fall. We only graduated 2 athletes out of those 2 8s at the IRA. So looking forward to bringing up these juniors and seniors and current sophomores, and even seeing if some freshmen can add to the mix for that. So we've got a lot of good momentum. I think the training has shown up. The guys have been putting in really great effort, which is number one for me. And they're starting to see the results of that even just as we start October. So far, so good.
Fraser?
But even before you said you were going to Henley, I had questions because the CIRAs, the Southern IRAs, and then the IRAs are obviously very far apart. So you can't follow say an Eastern Sprint school where you build 2 Eastern Sprints into IRAs. You have to have these 2 distinct peaks. And I think Henley a month later as a 3rd distinct peak. How does that work in your your planning for the spring in terms of making sure your athletes are able to perform at these 3 major events?
No, that's an awesome question. I think a lot of it is early training now, but especially January and February is going to be lower rate, longer pieces, almost feeling like a mini fall. So then when we develop into the spring, we can have 1, 2, and 3 peaks throughout the springtime. The 3 distinct peaks are going to be interesting. We're used to it with CIRA and the IRA. We're even used to it with CIRA and Dadville. There's still a good gap between those 2. So we're kind of used to it. We adapt to the training to where we have easy weeks and hard weeks, and then we kind of, undulate those throughout those 2 different things. Lots of seat racing to determine if we've got the right lineups, and all of that keeps things interesting. Doing mixed lineups certainly keeps things interesting and keeps people on their toes, which keeps them sharp. so they're not sitting in a stale lineup for a long time. So all of those things kind of come together to get us where we need to go.
And Bart, you talked about you at the stage now where the athletes will only have been known talking about you, coached by you, and Evo, the program itself has grown massively. So with these sort of consistency of you guys at the helm of your respective programs, what are your ambitions for the longer term season this year?
The goal is always to be the best. Now that's, easy to say, hard to do, but we're having very high goals and very high expectations out of us. And yeah, like you said, I think the stability has helped. I think the training has been very consistent and structured for 2 years now, which I think helps a lot in developing, especially the guys that, when I came in, I'm not in Bart's position right now. I still have the class that's now senior class, was not the one that I recruited, but those are the guys that I worked with since pretty much their day, I guess, one almost, right? So I feel like they're my first class. So seeing them develop over past 2-3 years has been, incredible, and seeing at the level that they are now, which was, way higher than what they were their freshman year, is just good to see. So we're continuing that same trajectory with all of our other classes and developing athletes and people and just, having fun doing it and hopefully going fast and, ultimately trying really to push and do something that's never been done, at least for our school, and that's break into that next level, which for us would be top 12, top 15 in a country, and that level of speed is what we're aiming for.
I mean, I think for us, we talk about just trying to take the program to places it's never been before. We want to be finishing at we want to be in the IRAs in the 8. We've been in the 4 the last couple of years, and we've seen improvements there. We were 19th 2 years ago and 10th this past year, and that's great. And again, I think, we only graduated one guy in the 1V, one guy in the 2V, so we'd like to think we're going to be better, but nothing is given. Everything has to be, earned through work. And certainly our hope is to become, first and foremost, I think a consistent IRA team in the 8s, and then with that become a team that, goes top 20, top 18, top 15, and just kind of keeps building. But obviously, it takes, as one of our strength coach has a quote of the day every week for our guys, and the other week it was Rome wasn't built in a day, but those dudes were laying bricks every day. And we're not going to build Rome in a day, but we're trying to lay the bricks every single day. And I think just this. One thing I tell the guys every year is the standard only goes up. There's a interview a number of years ago now, I think, from Dave O'Neill at Texas, where he's like, my first year at Texas with the women, it was like, 7-minute 2K is really, really fast. And the next year he was like, 7 minutes is pretty fast, but 650 is really fast. And then the next year it was, 650 is okay, but 640 is really fast. And I think, for us, we just have to continue to take the standard up and embrace being uncomfortable and challenging, for our guys, embracing the idea that what was good last year might not be good enough this year. And we talk a lot about recruiting on character, academics, and speed. We've had, we definitely had some of the similar experiences where, our squad this year is twice as big as it was 2 years ago. And a lot of that came from, we've had some really talented oarsmen that we let walk out the door because they weren't good fits culturally. They weren't what we were looking for in terms of not just being talented, but being hardworking in the classroom, hardworking in the water, being good teammates, being good people, being respectful to others, and being great members of our community at USD and in San Diego. And that it's easy to say, it's hard to do, but it's been really cool to see that pay off in terms of getting guys that are not just really talented oarsmen, but want to work really hard, want to be coached hard, want to go to levels they haven't been before, want to look after each other as human beings. And and that's been really exciting. And I think for us, it's just about taking that work ethic and taking that enthusiasm and continuing to translate it into better results. Like I said, top 20, hopefully eventually top 18, top 15. But it's easy to talk about, but it's hard to do, and we're just in the process of getting there.
Thank you, coaches. Fraser?
I'll start with Evo. You made the trip across the pond to Henley Royal Regatta last summer. How do you feel, even if the racing ended a little earlier than you'd have wanted? How do you feel the trip went for your squad in terms of progression on the domestic scene this year?
Well, I'll start with number one, providing the experience, again, like we've never done before. It was our first time ever in history going to Henley, and it's been, just for that group of guys, it's been an unforgettable experience. So that, knowing that, and then we were able to do that for them was, already amazing. But yeah, it's been honestly very insightful and very invaluable. Things that aren't necessarily tangible, but just seeing and learning from the different teams and how they operate, and talking to different coaches that are, not, from over there, and it's kind of how they handle and manage the team and how they do certain things has been very, very helpful. And we're honestly incorporating a lot of it this year, and we've seen some very good progress right away from the start. So I'm very happy that we went, and I think it's gonna help us in the end with the speed and our placements this year tremendously.
Bart, Coach Thompson, you are in the unique situation somewhat where to achieve your goals, you need to be sort of winning the conference. And the team that's currently doing that shares the boathouse with you. How does that dynamic play out on Mission Bay as you you very much see your competition up close to hand?
Yeah, I mean, UCSD is a great program. A lot of respect for them and Pete Simeone and what they do. Yeah, I mean, I think for us, we know the standard that we have to hit. I mean, I think one thing that's both challenging but also kind of beautiful and straightforward about rowing, right, is that you're not getting people who are, as I like to say, to use a March Madness phrase, the 12 seed doesn't beat the 5 seed. Typically, you're not catching someone on like a really hot-handed shooting night, or you're not beating someone with a bunch of trick plays where you just out-schemed them. You have to be faster. You have to outwork them. And, there's not a lot of, there's not really any sort of trickery or like schematics that are going to do that. You just have to be bigger and faster. And yeah, I mean, I think for us, we want to continue to, there's been more talk, I think, of getting into more cross-country racing, putting our nose out there a little bit more on the East Coast. I mean, I've been vocal about the fact that I think that that frankly, the coaching world hasn't had enough attention paid at times to some of the West Coast racing. And I think that's evident by the fact that we've had times where poll results don't reflect recent race results. Team A beats Team B, straight up, and then Team B gets ranked ahead of Team A the following week. And I've been pretty frank with other coaches, like people aren't paying enough attention, and that's a polling issue, and I think that's something that can be worked out within coaches. But I think beyond that, it gives, I think for us, the opportunity is that we're going to be able to race a little bit more cross country in the years to come. We've been hitting our financial fundraising support goals in ways that are allowing us to do some things we haven't done. And again, Head of the Charles is an example of that. Henley Royal Regatta is something I think that's on the near horizon for us as well in that space. And so we're going to be able to do some great racing, and I think show people that there's some speed out here that maybe isn't always seen. But yeah, as far as winning the Western Sprints as it has existed in the last number of years, yeah, we've got to beat teams up to and including UCSD. But I think actions speak louder than words, and we're certainly working hard to do that. And I'm excited to show what we've been working towards this spring.
Awesome. I have a question for Bart as well to follow up on that. We had obviously Oregon State just on this previous group, and he was talking about how the Lake Las Vegas Invitational race, they're not planning to attend on that one, and also Drexel as well. What's your goal and plan for that quote unquote race that was, annual race that usually happens?
Yeah, it's funny, from my understanding of it, there were 7 years of it happening, and I think there were 4 years that I've been told the weather was decent, and unfortunately in the last 3 it's been bad, and there's a recency bias there, and I've only been the last 3 obviously, so I can't speak to the good years, but it's understandable that coaches want to go a different way, given that the rowing hasn't gone well. I know there was a discussion within the coaches at the site last year about doing something at Redwood Shores, doing something at Chula Vista. I'm open to anywhere that people want to go. I think that's, as you know, one of the interesting things about rowing is obviously it's not like basketball or football where your conference is kind of dictating who plays who and when and where. It's kind of a, coaches getting on the horn and saying, hey, you want to row and where you want to row and when you want to row there. And so it's a lot of kind of the ad hoc, coach to coach conversations, and we'll race anyone, anytime, anywhere. There were some coaches out in Vegas who were like, well, it looks a little choppy and this doesn't seem fair. And my feeling is like, I grew up in Michigan. We rode in some pretty atrocious conditions, and we'll take on anyone in any place. Again, that's one thing that has been kind of a hallmark of my time here is, San Diego is pretty much idyllic and it's great weather all the time. And we've looked for bad weather and rough days because we want guys to be a little more blue collar. And we've kind of brought that blue collar mentality with where I've come from. And so, yeah, we'll go anywhere, race anyone. And if it's Chula, great. If it's Redwood Shores, great. If it's somewhere else, that's fine too. But yeah, we're looking forward to building on, last year we've raced Oregon State at that race every year. And last year we closed the gap in our first race. I think we were 3.5 seconds off of them, which was, the best we'd done. And so we want to hopefully continue to see if we can keep challenging in that race environment. And Drexel's a great team. Again, Gabe Winkler is a great guy, good friend, a lot of respect for him. Coach Salle and now Matt, great guys, great people, friends, a lot of respect for them. And we love racing them, and we hope we get to continue to do that this spring. And hopefully we can find a place to make that work.
Is there any more questions from the press at this time? If not, thank you all for being here, and I hope you all have a very successful fall.